And we are live. Hello, everybody. Tonight's talking with is with IndieGOGO creator Zain Shen. He told me I forget it. Shenwari.
I'll take
Wari. from the from the Elemental Balance chapters 1, 2, and 3. He has an Indiegogo up on Indiegogo, obviously, as I said. You can also find him on IndieCon. His link to his Twitter is in the thing. I hope he doesn't mind me putting it in the
Right.
description. Some
Go
people
for it.
can contact him. It's already there. And of course, his link to his Indiegogo is there. If at any time during this broadcast you want to go over and support him, we will be talking with him about his book and all that. And also with us tonight, we have Mighty Geek Studios, who has been here several times in the past. Not on this show, well, sometimes on this show, but he's been on with the different live draws and
Yeah.
such.
So how is everyone doing?
So, Zane, how did you come up with your idea? Well, how did you get into comics and such?
It's an interesting story. I don't know if I could. I wrote stories mainly like for the past 10 years, and it wasn't necessarily comics. I always had a lot of joy writing comics, but I always thought I was going to write something like for a movie or, a TV show and whatnot. So that's what I thought I was going to do. And then, like any other person who wants to get into arts, I did what I thought I was supposed to, and I sacrificed my passion to go towards, a normal corporate job. And I did that for like 7 years. And then, so I worked in the oil and gas industry, and we started seeing some layoffs. And then at that point I was like, I don't know if I want to continue doing this. I want to do something I'm passionate about. So I started writing a story again, and I was like, this would be really cool if I make this into a comic book. And so that's kind of how I got into my first comic book. And now I'm kind of like addicted. Like most of my stories are more like, formatted in a more of a movie type style. And, you can tell there's a difference between a movie formatted style and a comic book formatted style. And it's a little bit of a struggle because, if you think about the medium of comic books, the way you pace it is different than the way you would pace a movie, right? So, so anyways, I'm trying to merge the two. But yeah, that's kind of basically, in short, how I got into comic books or writing.
Cool. So is this with you saying how you got into comics or writing stories? Is this your first story you've written? Have you written other comic stories for anybody or whatever?
Actually, the first story I wrote was not this one. The first story I wrote was called Game Plan. This is actually my second story, but this is the first comic book I'm making. I didn't start making a comic book for Game Plan because the Game Plan is not a traditional comic book. It's more like a graphic. It would probably be more like a graphic novel. It's more situated like the way it's sort of like Fight Club would be. It wouldn't be about superheroes or anything like that.
Well, the great thing about comics, you can have anything in about almost anything.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And graphic novels, they're a form of comic book. They're just a bigger comic book.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, we got Ricey Lee in the chat, and we got JP4 in the chat as well. This is Zane from the Elemental Balance. And your comic company is In Zane, right?
Correct. Yes.
Sort of a play on insane.
Yeah.
And we are, as I said, talking about his Indiegogo, the Elemental Balance. And we'll go over that in a little bit, hopefully when we get some more in.
Sure, man. One thing, what's your favorite genre of writing?
My favorite genre is, I think, thriller. Sci-fi and thriller. That's my favorite. I love the build-up, of emotions leading up to something. I just really enjoy that.
We got Manny, aka Good Dog Press, in the chat now, and he's saying aloha all.
Hello.
Good to have you here, Manny. You could always jump in if you want. You do have the link to get into the panel, Manny, in the normal spot. And this is all about Zane and whatever we can help to get out there for people to hopefully want to buy his book. He's only got
Yeah.
$1,000 flexible goal. He is at 40% at the moment, so
Yeah.
he's
Wow.
and got 17 days left. So
Yeah. But it's a flexible goal, and all the comics are printed, so it's not something that if I don't reach the goal, that nobody gets their comics. I've already printed the comics because we actually had a Kickstarter before, and I set a small goal for the Kickstarter as well. None of these goals actually cover the cost because any of you guys who make comics know it gets pretty pricey paying the artist and
Yeah.
whatnot. But just
Yeah.
my main objective is to just offset some of the cost of printing and offset some of the cost, and I just want to get my comic book out. That's my objective.
Well, that sounds very smart, very good.
Yeah.
What else I was thinking of a question. Okay, so I said off air, you are the writer of this project, and as we've sort of put out there, who is your artist?
My artist is
Uh,
his name is
if
Luke.
he wants to be named with everything that's going on, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, are you talking about because of Comicsgate?
Yeah.
I think he's indifferent. Okay, let me kind of, I posted a Twitter.
I know his name's on the project, so people can know that way. But
It should
I don't
be. I
want to.
mean,
I don't want to out anybody that doesn't want to be
yeah,
out.
Yeah.
yeah. It's
As having a relation with Comicsgate, I don't want to hurt his career. I thought of that as I asked after I asked you. Sorry about that.
no worries, no worries. I mean, to me, I don't think it should ruin. I know it happens, but I don't think it should be. I mean, people should welcome different thought. People should welcome different mentality. It just shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, for sure. I can agree there. It shouldn't be an issue whether you're Comicsgate or not. Nobody should
Really
be,
shouldn't.
be bashing you on
Yeah.
Twitter or bashing you anywhere. It's just I have a different thought pattern than you. Get over it.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started promoting, I used to promote on Instagram, and then I got on Twitter, and that was the first time I found out about Comicsgate. And I put hashtag Comicsgate, and then I had somebody send me a message saying, "Why are you doing that? They're bigots, and they're this, and they're that." And I'm for one who I don't just believe what somebody else says. I talked to a lot of Comicsgate people, and they're really good people. I didn't notice any kind of bigotry or anything. They have their own mentality, and whether you agree with it or not, you can respect it. You can respect different opinions. That's
True, very true. What was I gonna say? Oh,
Well, the
so
funny thing is, they really
okay.
don't care if you disagree with them or not.
So it's up to you whether you want to name the artist, whether you think he would be okay with it. I do know he's in the. You said he's in the UK. That's a big enough place. So,
yeah.
uh,
Well, his name is Luke Horseman, and he's a great artist. He has his own style. It's very distinct. Yeah, it's got this kind of like a little bit of a cartoony look,
yeah,
and I like that. To me, I feel like any kind of story that I'm writing, the story itself is almost like a little bit grounded in reality. So when you start reading the story, you'll feel this weird kind of contrast because whatever you're reading feels very realistic, but the background and the tone and it's very colorful and kind of cartoony. And I enjoy that because it's this kind of contrast, that you're visually and you're audibly, like you're visually reading one type of tone and seeing a different type of tone, and it's just a form of art.
yeah, for sure. Trying to think of things to ask. If anybody in the chat has a question for Zane, feel free to comment. Please feel free to comment or put the question in the chat, and I will do my best to ask him. How did you find Luke for the artist as the artist?
So this was when I first started, had finished the story, and now I'm looking for an artist, and I had no idea how to go about it. And I wasn't even in social media, so I had no clue. So I had a friend who made a website who hired a freelancer on a website to make a website, and he used people per hour. And so I went on people per hour, and I was looking for comic book artists, and I saw his artwork, and I was like, I liked it. And so that's kind of how we began. And now we have a direct, we're outside of people per hour, and now we have a direct communication. We've built that trust, by now. So
yeah, oh, that's good. Model 316 is saying, who do you think cooler, him or JP4? I think he has no idea who either of you are yet. They are a couple. They've been on my panel many times on my different.
I don't know if I should answer those kind of questions. We're getting in trouble.
Yeah. Well, when you don't know either of them,
yeah,
not a good idea. Maybe once you get to know them a little bit.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Name of the book. It is called The Element of Balance. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. You have 3 books, right?
Correct.
So and how many pages are each of the books?
So they kind of gradually increase. The first 2 are about 20 pages, and then the next one is 24, and then I'm working on chapter 4 right now, which is going to be 28 pages. So they kind of gradually increase.
Cool. Model says he was leaning towards me, but wanted to be nice. They can be jokes. Well, Model and JP4, I both believe have a link to get in here if they want. So,
themselves.
And Risey's asking. Here's the controversial question in all of Comicsgate, the most controversial question of all. Who do you think is better, Raven or Starfire?
Oh.
And I tell you, this is the most controversial question.
How is controversial? I'm curious before I answer.
Have you heard of Pope Fire?
No.
She's been in the chat a long time. Well, she's a huge Starfire fan, and she has gone by the name Pope Fire for quite some time. And then there's a person called Raven. I'm not sure whether they were Raven beforehand. And they decided to, well, I guess they thought Raven is the coolest Teen Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's become a mini war. It's not out of hand or anything, but they razz the snot out of each other depending on which side you're on.
Wow. You guys are asking a lot of controversial questions.
So that's why I say it's the most controversial question in all the comics.
It's about the most controversial question you get asked in this crowd.
Although it seems there's more Raven fans out there right now than Starfire fans, I hate to say.
I mean, what is the basis off of, like, powers or like looks or like
the whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything.
Whole package.
Yeah.
You could be like me, and I just say a different Titan entirely.
I plead the fifth.
Or you could be like me and just stay on the fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's things you like about both of them, and you just don't want to give one side or the other that much leeway. You just want to stay neutral in it.
Right, exactly.
I just figured if I'm going to ask the question, I warn you what the consequences are.
No, I
but then
right.
I was about to say something, and I was like, wait a minute, let me figure.
But then again, unless you're on YouTube on a regular basis, I don't think you have too much to worry about. Oh, there's a question. Do you have a YouTube channel? Because I do not have that in the link.
I do have a YouTube channel, but it's pretty basic. It's got only like few videos in there, but I do have a YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah. I think you'd have to get in here, right? You create
Mm,
the channel. Now
Yeah.
the question is how much you do with it.
yeah.
And JP4 says, "Does he like the Canadian Shield?" The Canadian Shield is one of my main characters. I don't think Zane knows anything about cross comics in that way yet.
I will soon enough.
But so what was so? Any other questions that actually pertain to the book, or his stuff about comics?
I have one question. Is this book more sci-fi or the thriller genre that you like?
It's actually kind of both. It's rooted in sci-fi. In the sense, so what it is like when you read the first chapter, it feels very familiar. Like the story feels like something that's a standard story, kind of follows a standard storyline. And
Yeah.
then it starts getting into certain situations and certain things start happening that feel, I don't know what the right word is, like you kind of start feeling a little bit uncomfortable because one thing after another thing happens. So it's, I had somebody who read the first chapter and their comment was that you don't give us any room to breathe it wasn't in a bad way, but there was just like the way everything was one thing after another.
Mm,
I like doing that. It starts off very slow and then boom, 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 twist, plot twist, this, that. And then the next chapter
yeah.
slows down again and then picks up again. So, and that's where the thriller kind of comes in with the pacing and what I'm showing. And for those of you, maybe I can, kind of present for those of you who don't know what the story's about. Basically, there's just I have a video on IndieGOGO that can kind of give a little bit, sum it up.
Yeah.
But,
I played that video for people, but audio tends not to work too well over these
okay,
live stream.
I got you.
But I was just about to start to go over the Indiegogo campaign itself. That way,
Okay.
people can see and we can talk about all the different tiers and how good or not good they are. But they look good.
And you know what? I'd love to hear what you guys think. I mean, give me
Yeah.
your honest feedback. This is my first Indiegogo campaign, actually. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear your feedback on it.
Okay. The elemental balance, chapters 1, 2, and 3. Elementals existed from the dawn of time, but when they start disappearing, a new threat is revealed. The elemental balance is about a group of strangely gifted individuals trying to find meaning after a catastrophe. We'll follow the struggle to find their place in the world after hardship brings them together by chance and circumstance. If you like a little East-West fusion in your comic books, mixed in science and history, then you'll definitely enjoy the elemental balance.
It's a little bit of a science portion there too.
Mm.
Okay, so we got the first tier, which a paper action figure for a buck. You can't go wrong for that, I don't think.
Nah.
Everybody who pledges at this level will receive a paper action figure of your choosing between earth, water, or wind and elementals. What about the fire elemental?
Well, the fire elemental has not been introduced yet, so leave it a
Ah,
little bit of a mystery.
So you get to
hmm.
pick one. So is this a PDF or does this get mailed to you or?
It's a
And,
PDF.
Okay.
okay, and so you PDF and then you've got to print it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's a
All
fun
right.
activity. I
Yeah.
actually made a few of them. Hold on, let me grab them real quick. So I don't know if you can see it right here. Right here.
Ah.
Cool.
It's kind of a
It
little.
looks.
It's a little fun activity, if you have kids or whatnot. It's kind of a little fun thing to do.
Yeah, it looks like Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good for a buck. It's PDF.
Yeah.
And then of course you've got the digital download for $5. That's about average, which is a good price. you know, and you get the paper action figure. So you can't go wrong there.
That's,
Paper action figure that you get both sent to you digitally. You know, like I said, can't go wrong there. That's a very good tier.
that is. It's a nice thing
And
for those who like to interact with the story.
yeah. So with donating 3 times at the buck level, you can have all 3 action figures.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad.
So there is an idea, people. If you want all 3
Yeah,
action figures, $3.
$3.
Okay, and of course we got the first get comic, one comic in print.
Mm,
Okay, for $10, you want to read the Elemental Balance, but you don't want to bond to all 3 comics. Then just pick up this reward, and you'll get a bookmark with the reward as well. Oh, cool.
cool.
Yeah. Bond is the chemistry term.
Okay, I know you probably can't do the artist signature, but are you going to be signing any of these?
I didn't include that in this just because, I'm a small guy, I wasn't sure what people's take on that would be. For when I get on chapter 4, I will offer some options for signatures for signed comics.
Well,
But
yeah, you can still put in tiers for that, or I'm not sure whether you can. Well, any ones that haven't been bought, you can actually alter that stuff, sort of, or you can add stuff like that. I would suggest putting a signed copy in there somewhere
yeah,
Yeah.
what I can do is
because people like it, whether it's the artist, the creator, or whatever. They can get it.
Yeah, what I can do is I'm gonna probably add an additional tier that just says, a certain dollar amount, and then you purchase that, and if you'll purchase 2 perks, so whatever perk you purchase, I'll sign it, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks.
Signing tiers are always good. Get all 3 next at 15. Get all 3 comics in digital. Oh, so that one up there is only for only one of the comics.
Yeah, one of the issues. Yep.
Okay. Oh, we'll get one digital. I should have read it.
Mm,
So yeah, because I'm so used just to be one comic in the thing. It's gonna
Yeah.
use for 30 years. So this one is for $15.
get
You
all
got
three.
two of them playing.
And here I'm gonna give you the fire elemental
Yeah, and you get cool.
or the paper
The
action.
only thing, although that's claimed already, only one thing I might have suggested for this is maybe a couple bucks cheaper instead of $5 each for all 3.
Well,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I prefer people to get the prints. Like I want to try to reduce the cost on the prints because they come out really nice, and I know people are the people that are getting the digitals are typically international that just want to support the project. So those 2 people are just because the shipping is just so expensive. But no, that's a good point. I mean, I definitely.
You always want to, in my opinion, when you've got a full package, you always want to, give somebody a deal. I'm not sure whether you would have got more claim. $15 is an all right price for 3 digital comics. Don't get me wrong in the least.
Yeah, you giving it.
I just think you might have sold a couple more with it at the
you
12 or 13.
Yeah, I understand.
Mm,
But that's my opinion too. Whatever that's worth.
A fair opinion.
And of course we've got the collector's edition. Ooh.
So
Go ahead.
So I was gonna say that necklace is actually part of the story, and you'll see it throughout the story. And at the pretty much close to the end of the series, you'll find out what that necklace, the significance behind the necklace is. But our main character really wears it throughout the story. I have it already made, so if you guys can see it.
Cool. Are there? Well, it looks like there's as many. You didn't limit this tier, I see, which is, I guess, pretty good too. And yes, we're selling jewelry. This is not just any jewelry. This is the official necklace worn by in the story worn by the main character, Chloe, the water elemental. The secret behind the necklace is revealed in the later issues. So this is just the necklace itself. Do you get? I guess you don't get the comic book with it, or any other
No,
comic.
we'll have tiers later down that you can order all of it together.
Yeah. I might suggest putting in a digital copy of it.
That's fair, and I don't mind adding digital copies. I can do that.
Yeah, because it doesn't cost you nothing at that point.
Right.
I think you might get a couple sales on that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. You wanted feedback, so.
To
I
me,
agree with you on that one, Cross.
And anybody in the chat who wants to comment or ask a question as we're going along, feel free. I'm not sure what the chat's at the moment because I got it like that. Oh, we're down to 2 viewers. We were up there for a while, but anyways, well, people watch this afterwards, so.
Yeah.
And 25 bucks, you get all three in print, which is a good deal. Instead of 10 bucks each, you are saving $5 here. And you get a silicone wristband, for Earth, and a bookmark. 5 claimed, this is a good tier for sure. And 2 stickers and 2 posters. Oh, wow. You're really giving people their money's worth for this one.
because I really want people to get the prints. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I understand you don't want them to get the print stuff, but
the only other thing that I might the only other thing I might suggest is you putting your signature on these ones.
Yeah.
Letting them know that you'll sign it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, although it's a great deal. I'm not gonna say that it's not. It looks like you've really got your deals down here. For the most part. Except for adding a digital here or there or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In my ever so humble opinion or whatever.
That's fair. That's fair.
And okay, 45 bucks, the Big Bang. Now this is a bundle where you get the best bang for your buck. If you want all the main elemental balance content bundled together, this is the reward for you. You get the whole shebang. We call it the Big Bang. So basically, you get everything thus far, right? Which is
and then more, and then there's some more.
All 3 books, digital and hard copy, right? I can't see what everything here is.
Well, it's kind of they kind of limit you on IndieGOGO of the amount of words you can put on there, but if you scroll down on the campaign, you can see it it'll be bigger, so you can see everything that comes on that.
Off to the side. Okay, the digital book. There's the toy, the 3 comics.
So this is the digital backers.
The necklace. 25. The Big Bang bundle. So all 4 things, all 4 action figures. Original artwork pencils, practicing inks. Ooh, a JPEG. Original ink, practicing colors. Ooh. Those are special to that tier, it looks like, because I didn't see those 2 in the other tiers.
It's just on this one.
And all 3 comics digital, PDF, all 3 comics.
By the way, I can make those 3 comics in, I think, CBR form. Some people will ask for that.
Yeah.
So I can make those into CBR forms as well.
Yes. I know a lot of comic people like CBR when they're reading. The necklace, the wristband, and a 4-inch die cut vinyl sticker. A sticker page. Ooh.
Wow.
Bookmark, and I guess that's elemental coloring book page.
The list goes on.
Sketch cover, create your own cover art. Cool. Art poster, game plan, art poster. Okay, and that's that's a good deal for $45. That was
That's a
45
great deal
bucks,
for
right?
$45.
That is like a steal, folks. A steal of a deal. Okay, so where do I go? I would definitely suggest that.
I would
And then
suggest I would suggest that one too.
okay, and then we got the free 65 free international shipping. What is this extra four things here?
So it's exactly everything on the Big Bang, but to offset the international shipping costs, I'm adding 4 pins. They're metal pins that represent the elemental symbols.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to see in these images, but
Yeah, but definitely good. Model said, yeah, definitely do a digital. I guess that was for the one tier that I said
Yeah.
about digital earlier.
on the necklace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, do a digital
Yeah, with
copy
that.
for the necklace.
No, that's
Yeah.
right.
You know, a lot of creators kind of shy away from doing the digital, but it's really the most hands-free, easiest thing you can do to
Right.
get your book out there, because you don't have shipping costs and you don't have printing costs. You don't have any handling. So
Right.
it's pure profit.
Right.
Yes.
And
And just
everyone kind of looks at it like, oh, well, no, I want that physical book out there, but it's viable.
Right. No.
It is.
and just so you know, Zane, this is model 316.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
Is this your first book, Zane?
Yes, this is my first book.
Yeah, that's especially for like guys doing their first book. Digital is a great way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you did something that was just all completely digital, you don't even have to deal with printing on your first time. Get your first book out there,
Yeah.
and then do
Right.
something in the future on the next book where you do offer a copy of the first book
So
as a perk.
we
Yeah.
actually tried doing that the first time on Kickstarter, and it wasn't successful. So I realized that there's a lot of people who enjoy print. So
Well, and I do. I'm definitely a print guy. I will always go for a book.
Oh, my.
But
Yeah.
I keep my books as reference material, drawing reference. So if it's a really nicely drawn book, I'll keep it
Right.
and actually use it to reference inking and foreshortening and different poses and things like that.
that makes sense. Yeah. And we actually do have digital options though. So there are digital options, but
Yeah, there's digital options, you know. I think he's more just saying for something like the necklace, you just throw it in just to,
right.
you know, it doesn't
Just
hurt to
have
throw it in.
reference.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, pretty much every book too. I know for a while there, one of the big concerns was with your book being out there in a PDF form, but all it takes is one person to scan it, and somebody's going to.
Yeah, I think I'm not
Yeah.
that worried about that anymore. You know, like the way I've told myself is like, you know what, if it does go out there, then it's publicity. I'll just take it as that.
And there are a lot of people that like digital, but I still think I think there's a majority of people that like to have a physical printed copy. So that's not going to ever go away. I still like regular books. I don't like reading on a tablet. I can't retain info for some reason. I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
refresh rate on the screen, but it's like I find
That might
myself
be
reading
it.
paragraphs over.
And over again. Yeah. After a while, that does get kind of irritating. But well, it's nice to know that you have that digital copy just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I know definitely I can improve on, with the way I'm putting costs out there for the digital, but
Yeah, and like you said, if somebody copies it and puts it out there, at least it's the worst thing you can say is the best thing you can say is it's free advertising then.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's in the hands of somebody and hopefully they like it and they go and try and find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
read the next one.
I've always thought that it seems like there would be some way that you could have some kind of a validation that went with your digital copies where you could have a perk that people could actually, like you were assigned a number with your digital copy. I know it would add, but I would think there would be a way to automate that and keep track of it. That would be easy, but it would add a layer of complexity towards putting those out there. But, if you had like a trading card or a couple of trading cards that you were going to put out in the future, if they gave you that number, you would send them the cards.
Yeah.
But then again, that's just like you were saying earlier. Then people would just physically scan it.
Right.
Then the digital thing doesn't matter because somebody's physically scanned it.
Well, my point being that they can scan their book and put it out there, but they're going to be giving everyone the same code. And even if they blurred it, if people wanted the future perks, they would buy their own copy.
Yeah.
Digitally. That's more my point than anything.
Yeah. So, anyways, we've got his $250 tier. Custom art by Luke Horseman. Evolution, be drawn. Want to have superpowers of your own? Be drawn as an elemental with the same art style as the elemental balance by the talented artist Luke Horseman and colored by Matthias. I guess that's your colorer?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, we'll send you a digital portrait of yourself in high quality, and we'll print it, and it will be in print if you reside in the U.S. We'll even send you the printed poster. Cool.
I got in here late, Rick. Did they talk about what the book is about? I didn't hear.
I did a little bit. We talked with them a little bit, but we can obviously go over that after we finish the
the money paying the bills.
Yeah. We'll go over it. This is my first time going over it. Letting everybody know what there is available. And again, I'd include at least it's a good deal for what's being done there. Again, just I'd say give the people the digital copy of the comics.
Yeah.
Too, just because that way they have reference to what it's in,
right.
or about.
Right. Absolutely, and that's not a problem. Those will be added.
Yeah.
Or you could do that. You could sell the digital version with all the odd pages, and then you have to buy a print copy of all the even pages if you want to know what happens. Obviously, that's a bad idea, right, Rick?
Yeah. $300.
Hey, that's how innovation happens, Rick.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Mm.
$300 tier. Become an agent of Alchemist, which is the agency in the comic.
Correct.
In later issues of Elemental Balance, an agency known as Alchemist will reveal themselves. Get a cameo appearance as an agent in one of the later issues. Again, good thing. And like I said, the only thing I'd put in there is the digital.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
It's again just that way they'll want to buy the comic with them in. Yeah, they'll want to buy it with them in, but they won't understand the story.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Or make sure they have the digital copy of them in, whichever issue it is later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way they'll come back and buy the.
And I expect that someone who's reading this and they'll want to be a part of this. So, I mean, this is gonna be one of those things that I'll probably include in each one. And I'm not sure what to expect at least earlier on before someone reads it or is engaged into it. So, I mean, this is gonna be something that'll be included in the next one as well, in our next campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. And the $1,000 tier.
Sorry. I was just saying one thing. Are the alchemists like the bad guys or the main antagonists of the elementals?
They're not the main ones. Just think of them as like agents of Shield. Yeah. So they have their own agenda, but we don't know what you don't know what the agenda is.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an interesting twist to it.
Yeah, so yeah, you know, and we'll talk about the story a little bit later, but it's something, you know, like I said, there's gonna be some familiar aspects to it, you know, as you read it, and there's gonna be certain things that, you know, we add a little twist to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the big $1,000 tier, last of all of them. Have you always wanted to be in a comic book? Well, we have a rare opportunity for you. We have one spot open per character that will be revealed in a later issue. You name and picture Your name and picture will be used to create one of the boss agents. You will have dialogue and an important role in the story. We'll also ship you exclusive merchandise. The 4 collectible pins, the Big Bang bundle, free international shipping, and you become the big boss. So you get all the
So
$45, $65 tier, really.
yeah, so actually, what you get with this one is you'll get an ID badge, and it's gonna say your position in the company of the alchemist and everything. So it's gonna be like an ID with the lanyard and everything.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, like as if
And you've
Like the,
and
the
the
comics
way
in the 40s.
yeah, and then also the way you're gonna get an envelope like this gonna say that you've been promoted like as if it was a job, and it shows that you were promoted and whatnot. So I get a little creative with that.
cool. And I was
No,
just gonna say,
I noticed that you're doing free international shipping on a couple of the tiers. Have you looked real closely into that to make sure you're covered?
That's the only on the $65 ones, and like kind of past that. I know, like, so I've worked with DHL, and a lot of the international shipping is for me. It's going to cost roughly about $20. I think typically, if you don't have that deal, like an international shipping could cost somewhere around $60. So I actually have a business account with DHL.
Oh, okay. So you're in good shape.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it still hurts. You know, I wish it wasn't that expensive, but you know, I've kind of found a way around it.
Well, that helps, and unfortunately for it'll kind of give them a break too because of the VAT. So that's kind of a nice little perk that you're able to use your business account.
Yeah.
and there's only one of these immortality become a boss tier. So,
So
you
with this one,
gotta be fast on that one.
yeah. So this one is going to be something that for the life of the story, that character is, will be part of the story. So,
Yeah.
like think of like Agent Smith,
Yeah.
So.
And I was going to say, for everybody listening out there that's here, there are 3 viewers, be sure to share, let people know that we are here talking with Zain from In Zain Comics about his book, The Elemental Balance. Okay, so
Let me go ahead and tweet that out, Rick. I didn't tweet you out. I normally do that.
Okay, so we'll go back to just talking.
Yeah.
So I guess share more about the characters. You said there's at least 4 main characters, the different elementals. So maybe give us a rundown on the different main characters.
Yeah, sure. So ultimately, the story starts off with the main character named Chloe. As you read, when you're reading the story, you don't know exactly what Chloe's motives are. She's very curious about chemistry. She's learning about chemistry, but more specifically on the ancient concepts of the elements. And so she's asking this one tour guide. She wants to get more information. Later on in the story, we realized the reason why she was asking these questions because it turns out that she was the water elemental. She has a dream so while she's at the museum, she gets this necklace, the necklace that we were showing, and then that night she has this nightmare or dream that feels really weird, like really real and weird. She's in Kenya, and for some reason she can speak Swahili and she understands her environment and whatnot. And then there's a mudslide that happens, and she gets buried and dies in the mudslide. But then she wakes up from her dream, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, that was just a dream." But the next morning, she watches the watches TV, watches the news, and finds out that actually happened, and it happened in the exact time when she had the dream. So she realizes, okay, something strange going on. So that leads her on a quest to go find out what's happening with her. And then when she gets to Kenya, she finds a man. She finds this individual over there. His name is Baraka, and we find out later that Baraka is the earth elemental. So the story kind of goes on, finding out how all these people are connected. They have these dreams where that's connecting them, but later down the story we'll find out what are these dreams, why they're connected, and they're wondering that okay, so they die by their element, right? So the earth elemental dies by a mudslide. The water elemental dies by tsunami. The wind elemental dies by tornado. But they're curious about why them. Why did they get powers? Because other people died too. And so the story kind of develops from there. That's kind of the premise of the story.
Cool. Can you? But I guess I was going more for character or powers.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
The various elemental, like say the earth. Can he control rock, sand? How does it work? Maybe compared to say you've probably seen Terra and the Teen Titans. Does it look like that, or maybe like Sandman or something completely different?
So, I'm trying to figure
without giving too much of the story away.
That's what I'm trying to think, because there's something that happens in the story. Okay, initially it's like Avatar: The Airbender. Like they have the stories that can project their element. The reason why I'm not sure how to say this is because
you don't have to say the reason why they can do it. People can figure that out.
What I mean is that their powers become interesting later on. Something happens to their powers that kind of starts going off pace of what we are familiar with. So, but it's initially, they can like for example, Chloe, she can, when she senses water, like in the pipes in a building, she can make it burst and she can make it swirl around her and project it like that. So,
sort of like Mira from Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly. They're like they can bend elements. I think that's the term that they use.
Yeah. Sounds cool for sure. Anybody else got any questions or comments or whatever? We don't got a lot of people in the chat at the moment.
Yeah, show some art, Rick. Let's see some of the art.
Oh yeah, I guess we can go back to the IndieGOGO, show some art. For sure, that is definitely an idea. Although we saw a little bit of it while we were going through it, but we never focused on it.
So actually, also on the IndieGOGO campaign, we go through the art. For those who are more interested in finding out briefly what happens in each chapter, there's a brief synopsis for each chapter.
Yeah, right here, two people, right there. Click the link, get a free preview of all 3 chapters. If you can see it, I should focus on me. Right there, you can see. Read the first free preview of all 3 chapters, right there.
Yeah, so basically what that link is going to take you is going to have like the first 5 pages of each chapter, something like that, 5-6 pages.
Cool.
Oh, okay, good. So you got a lot of this done.
Yeah, I mean, it's all done.
Oh, cool.
It's complete. I have,
the first 3 books are complete, he was saying earlier.
Yeah, they're completed. I'm actually, what this campaign is going to help with is completing and offsetting the cost for chapter 4. So this is all self-funded, completed. So I'm giving a final product, basically. So hopefully this helps with chapter 4.
Have you got your printer all lined up and everything?
Yeah, I already have them in print, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I already have them in print. Here's.
Does it say that on the campaign? Is that clear? That it's ready to ship?
Want to show that again, Zane? That comic?
Yeah, sure. This is the second issue. It's got even a barcode too, but yeah. But yeah, I've the way I selected a printer is I've talked to, I don't know, about like 10, 15 printers, had them send me prototypes because I really wanted to make sure the quality of these, those prints on point. So, my background, by the way, my actual professional background is I worked in oil and gas for doing, I did supply chain for them, procurement. So it's been my job to do contracts and procuring different kind of, actually those were like drilling equipment, but still, I still have that kind of mentality. So when I'm looking at merchandise, I treat it similarly. So
Was that a barcode on the back of the book?
Yep.
Oh, so you can use media mail.
Yeah. Is that the requirement? Barcode?
Yep.
Email? Okay. Okay.
And it can't have advertising in it.
No, it doesn't have advertising. I think that they kind of strictly say that comic books, you can't use comic books because of the advertising.
Mm-hmm.
But
as long as there's no advertising that has a barcode, you can use media mail.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
First Comics confirmed that, and he was using it.
Yeah.
That'll save you a ton of dough.
Oh, for sure.
It does.
And actually, for any of you guys, I don't know if you guys have this, but like for me, I have an agreement with USPS with like a business account because I have an LLC, and so I have a business agreement. So I usually get them in discounts. So I don't know if you guys have that, but definitely encourage you guys to look into those. So
get an LLC and then get a business agreement with the postal service. Okay.
And I'm not, and I might be wrong. You might not need an LLC. I think because when I'm thinking about it, I think they just asked for what my volume is going to be for sales. What is my estimate volume, and then they gave it to me.
That's correct. They ask you for projected volume, and
Yeah.
I've never been able to meet that consistently. Some years I'll use enough, and then other years it's like, eh.
But there's no penalty or anything like that for not, And I have a link to a company that I use that is very easy to use. If anybody wants it, I'll be more than happy to share it. I'm forgetting what the company's called right now. I think it's like XPO or something like that.
Yeah. And that's something that if somebody wants it, they can contact you on your Twitter, which we have in the...
Absolutely.
Those covers look nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
They do.
Here's issue 4's cover.
So remember the colorist I talked about or had on there, Matthias. He joined us on chapter 4. So chapter 1, 2, and 3, Luke Horseman did everything on there from the pencil, ink to the color. So he did everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is he doing the lettering? Are you doing the lettering, or somebody else?
I'm doing the lettering.
Okay. Yeah, lettering. We think's fairly easy. I do, anyways.
Yeah. Most of the time,
I guess these.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we got. I guess these are the bookmarks here.
No, they're not the book. Yeah, they could be, right? The way they're formatted. No, this is just a quick. You know how you're talking about the bio.
Okay, yeah.
This is like a quick bio.
Okay, so we got Chloe Water. She's from Australia. Risey would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Death by Tsunami. Personality. Inquisitive, caring, goes with the flow. Yeah, I guess the water part there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a sucker to puns. You could tell by my company name. So
yeah, same here. Earth is named Baraka.
Mhm.
Baraka. Okay. Origin Kenya. Death by mudslide. Personality realist, sarcastic, and well grounded. Oh, I love those. I'm a bit of a punter myself. Okay,
Yeah.
not a bit. a whole mudslide worth. What's this? Daiichi?
to be honest with you, I actually don't know how to pronounce these names. When I was looking for names, I went under like Kenya. What are the most popular names? And what clicked? Like for me, Baraka clicked because it had like rock in there. Yeah. Some people were like, "Oh, Barack Obama." I was like, "That's not what I made that for." It was more like because there was like almost like a sound of rock in his name, and Chloe was like Chloe. I mean, it has nothing to do with the story, but it was just something that connected those names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's from Japan. Death by tornado. He has a short fuse. He's proud and blows hot and cold. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what you mean by that.
He's like sometimes he's hot tempered, sometimes he's chill. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
And of course,
he's unpredictable.
cool. And the fire elemental, you're not letting us know anything yet.
Mhm.
That's
There's a
cool.
reason. There's a reason behind that. I mean, even though you have the picture of who it is, once you start reading the story, I kind of like to keep it a little bit of suspense.
Oh, we got a first couple pages of the first one there.
Yeah.
I think this is that you've seen that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, with the necklace.
Well, the necklace. No, I'm more mean down here. Oh, the tsunami. Oh,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
got
yeah.
mud.
Yeah. And so these dialogues, they kind of they mix science, actual concepts of science, with fiction.
Here's the one where she's death by mudslide.
And that was the dream that I was talking about that she had.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like a little bit of an anime style to it?
Yeah, he does have a little bit. His Luke's artwork is really, I think, inspired by Japanese culture. He's very fascinated by the Japanese culture, and so you can kind of feel that a little bit, not entirely, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all the way
Yeah,
to that style, but it's kind of edging towards it.
yeah, correct. Yeah.
Number 2 here. You've definitely got a lot of stuff on here for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the IndieGOGO and look through look at all those sample pages.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Definitely.
Check out the video too. I spent a lot of time making it. It's funny because after I made it, like some people just felt like it wasn't that I wasn't showing any heart into my work because I didn't talk about it, and it just basically looks like an advertisement. And I was like, well, I worked hard on it. I thought that was me showing heart, but I think in the next campaign I'll probably just talk through what I'm presenting. But
It's hard to say what to do. Everybody wants something different. Sort of thing. And now we're on number 3. Well, the colors are real vibrant in here, but it's supposed to be Japan, so
yeah.
you can tell the difference. Yeah, just looking at you can tell the little bit of. Seems a lot of us.
Ooh, how well did he research his kanji? Do you know what all that stuff says?
Where are you looking at?
There was like a picture of a downtown, like a cityscape.
Oh, I don't know because it could say anything really.
You should have someone translate that.
Right? Like it's not a subliminal message.
Just to make sure.
That's fair. That's fair. And what's interesting is he went on a Japan trip and came back when I needed him to start working on this. So it was pretty cool. Like I didn't have to have influence him. He was just he was kind of in that mojo of Japan culture and whatnot when he was working on this issue. And it wasn't planned like that at all. It was just pure coincidence.
I knew a guy, of course, like there's always the one guy that gets the kanji tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be like spirit and strength or something like that. And a Japanese person once said, "Why you have tattoo that say Blackfoot?"
That's hilarious.
So all that time he's saying, "Yeah, power and spirit." It's Blackfoot.
That's funny.
I bet that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Probably does because no one.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say probably does because no one really researches what the kanji means.
Yeah, it's funny because there's one part of my comic where Daichi's talking in Japanese, but I don't want to. I wanted to show it in Japanese because another character who's actually translating it. So you see it in English, but then I want to show his version in Japanese. And so all I did was I got the English version and Googled into Google Translate and put it into Japanese. So you know how those things don't always translate exact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what it's saying, but I'm just trusting Google Translate.
Oh, it's funny. I know some people from Japan that visit quite frequently. Like every couple of years, they're over here, and they always talk about here in America, all the kids are learning Japanese from anime, and anime is typically has a lot of slang, and it's
Yeah.
also very disrespectful. So the kids, as soon as they find out someone's Japanese, they try to talk to them in Japanese, and they come off very insulting. And
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Japanese are kind of prideful people, from like what I understand.
well, there's a couple, there's a formal method of Japanese, then there's the slang, and in front of like your elders and certain people in certain events, you would never say certain things,
Yeah,
and that's usually what's in anime.
that's hilarious.
We have a beautiful Japan Fest down here that in the spring every year.
Huh. Yeah, those are really. Yeah, I really want to go to Japan myself. I mean, I enjoy looking at the culture and whatnot, and and actually, it's like different cultures and whatnot that really inspired the story. That's why I made it kind of like around the world.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea to take the elements and kind of funnel an element towards a culture
Mhm.
and let that kind of influence it. It's a neat idea. Typically, the elements are all coming out of like Chinese medicine,
True.
but you could, the elements are worldwide.
Mm-hmm. But so the story premise is around that these powers were there since the beginning of time, and geographically, borders were added by human. So it's almost like I'm choosing geographical regions more so than actual borders, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So it would be like different areas. But anyways, and that's nothing that really kind of comes up in the story at all. It's just more of like there's things that you get influenced by when you write these stories that just feel, like maybe later down in like a next series, maybe I explain why were they origin from this specific location, and I have a little bit of an idea, but it's not presented in this series just because there's too many things going on that it's not necessary to mention. But yeah.
Well, keep the book going. You'll have plenty of time to get it all out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to drop it all right away.
Yeah.
I've been trying to, and I'm not trying to shill here, but I've actually been trying to get an outline done for a writer for something that I've wanted to work on for a long time. And I keep trying to put too much in it. I keep trying to, and then while you're writing, you start coming up with new ideas and you have to rein all that back in there. That's why I'm not even going to write it. And I'm not going to draw it either. I decided not to draw it because I'll sit there and obsess over it and never get anything done.
I usually, like all those other ideas that I get, I typically put in a separate folder, because just in case if I create another series, I'd probably bring it up then. But, because I don't want to give information overload,
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think you guys were able to hear me for a while.
No, I think you actually ducked out of the hangout for a little bit.
You did.
Well,
It was only the three of us.
Well, I ducked out for like about 10 because I was talking and you guys weren't talking over me. So if I
That
wasn't
happens to me
saying
every
it,
now and then. I'll have to shut it down and restart the Google Hangout.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I really need to go here. It just crossed past 11 o'clock, but I appreciate coming on and being able to talk to you. And hopefully I tweeted out your book and your Twitter handle, so hopefully some people will see it and go check it out. I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
I
All
was
right,
going
Mr.
to say,
Piper.
okay, later, model.
Have a great
good night. Somebody in this community that might be able to translate all that Japanese for you is Chester Busby.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, since he lives in Japan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he might be able to do all your translating for you.
That'd be nice. Yeah. See what I'm actually saying with the Google Translate. Hopefully nothing offensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure all that stuff is the panels up there in there
Right.
in the downtown Tokyo, whatever. There.
Yeah, nothing saying something wrong. But I trust Luke. He does his
Yeah,
research, and I trust him. So
yeah. I was gonna say this picture of Luke looks like a guy in our community, a little Willie Reed.
oh really? Is that on my website? Oh, that's on the Indiegogo. Yeah, I think I know what picture.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Oh, I'm not sharing. Jeez. There, let me share again. I forgot I stopped the Google Hangouts, so I wasn't sharing anymore.
Yep.
There, that picture.
Yeah.
Mm. Ah,
So if anybody in the chat, if we're still got a chat going, where is the chat? There. Anybody that's still here, which is two people, it looks like, got any questions or comments or whatever? Feel free to ask. I'm trying to think of stuff to ask. Who's your favorite hero, villain?
Who's my favorite villain?
Yeah, and hero.
Um, I don't know if this is cliche, but my favorite villain is probably Joker or Lex
Mm.
Luthor. Both of them are kind of my favorite villains.
So DC guy, take it.
Yeah, a little bit. When I was younger, I was actually Marvel, but when I grew kind of older, I kind of swayed a little bit towards the DC because I think DC kind of redefined themselves. I'm talking about comic books specifically, not the movies. But
Yeah,
it's very interesting because to me, they've taken these characters and redefined them. They're not, the struggle about them is not like Superman's just fighting Lex Luthor, but Superman's also fighting his strength because he lives in a cardboard box, like using those kind of elements, or Batman's struggle with his, anxiety or, depression from losing his parents. Like they kind of went into that direction, like more of like a darker tone, which, I don't know why, but I kind of resonate with that a little bit more. And that's why I've actually liked Marvel's Netflix versions of their characters because they kind of follow a similar tone, more
okay.
rooted in realism, I guess. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's kind of where a lot of my inspiration comes from. One thing when people, after they read chapter 3, there's something that happens towards the end, and we kind of find out more about the villain. And I'm one of those writers that's weirdly enough inspired by the villain. Not inspired, but like I like the concept of villain more so than the hero because when you think about the hero follows a social norm of what's justice, right? What's right. And so so it's almost like well defined for them of what to do and what not to do. Whereas the villain creates his own social norm,
yeah,
creates, like, for example, if someone robs a bank, right, or whatever, they're not robbing a bank. I don't like that was. I don't think they're robbing a bank knowing that it's wrong. They're robbing a bank thinking it's going to benefit them. You know what I mean? Like, does
yeah.
that make sense? Like
Well, they might know it's wrong technically, but they want to be benefited, by the money.
exactly.
So,
They've just
so
they've justified it. You know,
yeah,
Right.
they know it's wrong, but they don't think it's wrong for them. Whatever they're doing, it's right for them.
yeah,
So to me, this adds this layer of complexity to a character. Like, to me, a villain shouldn't be a villain who wants to destroy the world just for the sake of destroying the world. It's got to be some kind of substance. There has to be,
yeah.
So
I think there was an old saying in comics, or somebody said it for something. Heroes are defined by their villains.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's so true. I mean,
And you don't understand that no bad guy ever thinks he's the bad guy.
exactly. That's exactly what. Yeah,
Yeah, the other thing, we're all the hero of our own story.
exactly.
And I see you got some stretch goals here too. I never noticed them earlier.
Yeah.
Elemental Balance cell phone wallpaper at 1400, 1600. Elemental Balance desktop wallpaper at level, that's 1600, 1800. Add 2 bonus pages to chapter 3. Ooh.
Ooh.
How do you do that with already printed books?
Yeah, I was gonna say I already added them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You already added them?
yeah, I already added them. So I might. We didn't have to reach.
Okay. Okay, level 4, 2000. Add 4, total of 4 pages.
Yeah.
Again, something you've already
You don't have
done.
to worry. Nobody has to worry about that. They're already getting it.
And we don't know what 7 through 12 are yet. Printable 3D pop-up card.
So these are going to be like, in their environment. It's a little pop-up card.
Ah.
Yeah.
Cool. But we got a bit ways to go for those, and hopefully you get to them.
Yeah, and for me, I'd like people to give it a chance, read the story. Whether it's just in the digital or whatnot. My goal here is not to make a lot of money, but just to have as many people to read it. That's my objective.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
The other thing I see you didn't do here was do a featured perk.
Feature perk?
Yeah, there's a way to, out of all your perks, make one of them the feature, whichever one you think's the best or people might like.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, if you go and look at a lot of the campaigns, maybe take a look at go to IndieCron and click on a bunch of the different ones and see what they do as a feature one. That way, a little bit of research before you go figure out which one do you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to do it myself, but
yeah,
you now know that you can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
That way it puts one of these ones that you think should be up there. You obviously don't want to do the most expensive, but you don't want to do the cheapest.
Well, for me, I mean, 20. The 3 comics probably is. More people are going to lean towards it because they want to know the story.
Yeah.
Before they kind of, but then some people like to have the extra merchandise and whatnot. So it's kind of hard to. The most value you get is through the $45 one because you just get all this stuff.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good featured one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Bang for your buck.
Get your bang.
Be the best.
Big bang. Try to use those puns again. Kind of bring the chemistry terms into it.
Mm.
I've sent these to several critics, and it's always so fun to kind of read what their perspective is. And by the way, I don't know. I think I have links to critics over here. So far, I've got good remarks on the story and whatnot, so that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some people are like, you're going to have to brush up on your middle school science. Because for me, the best part of when I write the stories is I love doing research. And so
people only half care about science. Look, Stanley got away with gamma radiation for the Hulk, and there's no way that does.
And you can't. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to fully justify it because at the end of the day, it's science fiction, But it's fun to kind of use those concepts and try to, when you find the gaps, to try to manipulate it. So,
the funny part about that, it was later determined that gamma radiation could also kill Superman.
Really?
Yeah, because that's what kryptonite does. It emits gamma radiation.
Didn't they show at one point that it impacts, how Superman, everything for Superman is elevated, like, his strength and whatnot. Right. So the gamma radiation for him impacts him more, but it also impacts humans, but just at a slower rate.
At a slower rate, right.
Yeah.
Which is how Lex Luthor got radiation poisoning.
Right, yeah. To me, those are pretty cool, ideas. Who would have thought that,
Right. We all think, we're all under this impression that kryptonite is harmless to humans, but
yeah,
Prolonged exposure has its has its own
Uh,
risk.
unless you go with Smallville, then it gives you superpowers
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But that,
somehow, some way.
yeah, but that's where the comics I feel like differ. They kind of give more explanation to things, and they kind of
yeah. Comics usually have room to explain things a little more.
yeah, exactly.
For sure. Well, if I get the money, I'm definitely gonna back. Oh, there's something. What are your shipping costs? How much is shipping to, say, the U.S.?
Within the U.S., I mean, I put in there $5. It's a good average for me to, it might be a little less. Once I kind of ship several of these, I'll be able to know exactly what my shipping costs are. I think
Yeah,
it ought to be like three
and
382, something like that, four something, 420.
yeah, and of course, I'm talking for just the comic book. Upper tiers they get more expensive in the shipping because of all the
Yeah,
stuff that you're putting
and
in.
I haven't been like, let's see how media mail works out. Like, I'm going to try to ship them through media mail, and hopefully that kind of improves the cost.
Okay. And any idea for your, say, international shipping? How much your cost is?
So, I mean, obviously each country has a different cost, but it's roughly what I've noticed is about like 20 to like to Canada, it's like 20 something dollars, which is kind of weird that Canada is like Toronto's probably closer than some of the other places, but
We're shipping a comic book, $20.
yeah.
That's expensive.
Have you experienced something differently?
Well, I haven't, not as a package. I haven't shipped any comics, but I've shipped some artwork, through my channel, people winning different stuff. And the most I've paid, with not counting, buying the envelope and all that, is I think the most I paid is like $11, and that was to what's the name of it? Italy. But that was
And I might start looking because when I got a quote from DHL, that's what they gave me was $20. So I actually have one person that purchased.
and I shipped some, well, again, not comic books, but artwork, and all my comic books, or my artwork, I cut up some foam board and put the artwork in the middle, so it'd probably be about the same same weight as a single comic book,
Yeah,
and not making it a package. It's like $3 to ship to the States, so. I don't know.
I,
It's with me. Sorry.
I need to look into that because I don't want it to be that expensive, but it's just the quotes that I've got. So
Yeah. Because I know the higher, for at least for me, the higher the shipping. Like if I'm paying, say, $20 or $25 for all three comics, and the shipping's as much as the comic books,
it's not you're not gonna want it.
it's
No, I agree.
like because it's like when Nasser, I'm not sure whether you know who Nasser is. He had his book for $5, and I went to go get it, and the shipping was like $10, double the price of the comic. Okay, I've paid $10 for shipping before, but I'm getting a lot more than a comic, and then there's of course the exchange rate too. So $15 suddenly becomes $20+.
I've seen someone do this strategy where they can't avoid the shipping costs, so instead they'll add some additional things to your reward to kind of offset it that are worth about shipping value.
Yeah.
So I've seen some people do that, but
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
that's what's annoying about you want to ship internationally, but it's just
Oh, what I might suggest to you is, put something in an envelope, right? Whatever you're going to ship, or go down to the post office or something and say, how much is it to ship this? You get them to weigh it and all that too, say Canada.
yeah.
That way you have a more accurate cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got an accurate cost quote from DHL. That's why I'm saying that, but not from USPS or whatnot. So, um, and maybe the quote they gave me was more like a safe number, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
still a lot.
Yeah.
So that's
Because I just say that because like as you were saying to me with me, shipping costs can throw off people.
Yeah.
20 bucks is when I would like to get the $25 tier, get all three physical because I'd rather physical copy,
yeah.
as you were saying earlier.
Well, I'll look into it. I'm gonna try to see how I can figure that. How to adjust that. Because I really I want people, especially Canada and Mexico. I would imagine it shouldn't be expensive for Canada and Mexico, but
Yeah, I can see things getting expensive once you get past
Australia,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I shipped something to Australia, Risey, and he was in the chat earlier, and I shipped something to him, and it was, I don't know, $10 or something like that.
That's not bad.
Well,
It's $10.
no, you got to understand one other thing, Rick. He's also in the British Commonwealth, so
Yeah, well,
that makes
still,
it.
well, like I said, I shipped something to Italy, and it was like $11 and change.
Yeah.
It might have been a little bit more than $10. I forget. It was a couple weeks ago. I think he got it the last couple of days. A Cyclops picture did for him.
Which is
Uh,
which is interesting because I always thought that the shipping rates in Canada were more expensive than the U.S.
Probably depends on what you're shipping too.
Yeah,
That's
what you
another
ship in,
thing.
how big it is, how much it weighs,
Mm-hmm.
whether
Right.
it'll fit, they figure it'll fit through a mail slot.
Mm-hmm.
Because our stuff that's in an envelope, an oversized envelope, when you go from fitting
Yeah.
through an envelope, so it's not a package, to it won't go through the envelope, the mail slot, so suddenly it becomes a package. The
If
rates
it's
go up slightly.
if it's above a certain thickness in an envelope, it becomes a package.
Yeah, thickness, width, height.
Yeah. So those things usually you have to take into account.
Yeah, the shipping is kind of annoying. There's different strategies, like if you have volume, it becomes a little bit easier because you can do things
Yeah.
where you ship a pallet to the country and then you have
Yeah,
it individually shipped within the country. I mean, there's different strategies. There's also like you have like drop shipping. Don't even have it. Like let's say you produce it in China, right, the comics or whatever, or you produce it somewhere else. The shipping cost from China is cheaper than the U.S. just because I guess labor and whatnot. So you can have
Yeah.
it directly. So there's different strategies, but it all depends on volume because you have
yeah,
to have certain volume.
for sure.
And
I
it's
know, like I said, when I ship something to or mail, I shouldn't say ship some of my art to the States, it was $2.95 Canadian, so that's even less American.
wow. That's more. That's cheaper than me sending it locally.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
And I just put it. It was like I said, that stuff just about the size of a comic book,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit bigger. A 9 by 12 piece of paper in that in a bubble envelope. So protection. I've got all sorts of protection there that way it doesn't get folded easy on the person.
Yeah.
And 2.95 Canadian.
Mm.
Not bad.
That's to the States.
That's a
Now,
that's a toonie, right?
pardon?
That's a toonie.
Yeah, just over a toonie. Toonie and a loony. And
I,
get 5 cents change.
when I first found that out, I thought someone was pulling my leg.
Yeah.
Looney and Toonie.
Yeah, well, see, Looney originally got its name because on the one side there was a loon. So
Uh-huh.
a nickname for it became the Looney. Toonie came out when the $2 coin came out because the Looney was the Looney. We took the part of the two and add off the L and Toonie.
I wonder if the Looney Tunes cartoons were inspired by that. You know,
Probably.
you know the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I've heard the Looney Tunes. I didn't quite hear your comment. It roboted a little.
Oh yeah,
Probably my end.
yeah, the Looney Tunes. I wonder if they kind of inspired. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, but actually, I should. Have you seen any Loonies or Toonies?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've been to Canada several times. It's in a coin. Like they have like I think the toonie has like a gold rim, like I mean a golden
Yeah.
color rim.
Well, it's no goldish in the middle. Here,
No,
I'll go get it. Here, give me a sec. I got a couple.
oh,
For those that don't know.
I love. Do you guys have the? I think all the currency changed too. Now it's like more like plastic kind of paper. It's not paper anymore for the dollars. It's like this plastic material
Yeah.
with like a clear. It's clear in the middle. It's really interesting.
For all those that have never seen Canadian coinage, or at least the loonies, there is a loonie.
Yeah.
If the queen on one side,
Hmm.
and as I said, the loon on the other side. Hence loony. And the toonie.
Oh yeah.
This is a Remembrance Day one.
Is this new? I don't remember seeing that red.
Well, it was made for Remembrance Day, I think.
Is
The
that
special one.
Is that in Quebec?
No, no. This is I'm in Ontario, so no Remembrance Day, like Memorial Day.
Yeah. Doesn't Quebec have like on their license plate saying "We remember" or something like that in French?
I don't know. I haven't been to Quebec a lot, so.
Oh, okay.
When we first had the Toonies first came out, there was a bear on the one side, on the side that what would be that side. You probably still find them around, and you'd cover up the head of the bear, like you'd go like something like that, cover up the head of the bear, and it looked like a T-Rex mouth.
That's cool. That's cool. And your currency, your dollar bills, they're like now kind of like this plastic material, right?
Yeah, our dollar plastic type kind of plastic feel. It's hard to rip them, so it's good.
And I don't think they get wet, right?
Pardon?
They don't get wet, right?
No, they don't get wet.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about losing them if you keep them in your pants or whatever doing the laundry.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, it took some getting used to. It felt weird after so many years of paper, but you know, we've had it for a couple of years now, so we're used to it.
Yeah.
Just like we're used to the coins. You know, we got rid of the dollar bill, and well, we don't got pennies here now either. So
I don't know why we have pennies. I mean, who uses pennies anymore?
Well, I think officially it still exists in the United States. Not a problem.
Yeah.
But we officially, the government said, took out the penny. And if you're dealing in physical coinage to people, you can't give it at stores or whatever. You don't get a penny if it's like your 562. They round down to 60 cents, so you save 2 cents. But if it's at 563, they round up and you lose 2 cents.
Interesting. When you look at a huge company, I wonder how much they actually lose overall. With, I mean, it's pennies in each transaction with I don't know, thousands of transactions.
Yeah, but they got rid of it just because it costs too much to make the penny. It costs more than a penny to make the penny.
That was also in the U.S. I heard that the material that was used in the penny or one of the coins was more than its actual worth. So there's people who were melting down those coins and selling them as just a commodity.
Cool. Oh, we got Tank in the chat. Hey, Tank, you want to hop in? We're talking a little bit with Zain from Zain Comics about his Indiegogo, the elemental balance.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times I almost forgot. That's amazing. Tank is a regular around. He has his own channel. He doesn't have many videos, but he's a good artist around here too.
Awesome.
That's the one thing. There's a few channels you come on. You get to know a lot of the more smaller creators, but and good people to have on, be able to get in with,
For sure.
And you know what I should do? I never did, and I doubt whether you got anything. Ever so often, we actually do get people who actually make money on here. The stuff goes up by a little bit. But hopefully it goes up over the next couple of days or week or whatever.
But we all have our things that we love to do. But I must say this much, man. I'm enjoying the concept of the elemental balance.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was a story. It's a story in the making. 2 years. I made the story 2 years ago. So it's been a lot of thought and a lot of love put into this. Hopefully people who read it can tell.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you mean. I've been working on my project for I don't know how long. Too long.
Yeah. And it's almost like, sometimes you feel like, it's not good enough or it could be better. And it's kind of a hard thing as a writer to kind of put the pen down and say, all right, this looks good. I mean, obviously you go through several revisions, but just, adding content, subtracting content,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a method of the way I write, and I don't know if everybody kind of follows that same method. I mean, it's just something that I just do. Is that, first of all, whatever scene I'm writing, I listen to that kind of music. So if it's suspense, I'll listen to suspense music. If it's, something that's a romantic scene, I'm trying to show something, I'll listen to like a romantic song just to kind of get me in the mood of writing it. And then typically when I write, I'm kind of not really focusing on what I'm writing. I'm imagining the scene in my head and commentating it on the paper. So when I go back, when I read it, I'm like, some of it kind of sounds like gibberish. And so that goes my first revision. But, it prevents me from writer's block.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like a very good way to write,
Yeah.
Giving you inspiration, commentating, I should actually work that way too a little. When I'm not actually writing hand to paper, I do a lot of that. I go through the whole scenes,
and
commentating.
That's the thing.
Doing the.
Like if you ever hear yourself talking, like let's say you're in the car and you hear the thoughts that go into your head, like it's really interesting, So imagine putting that on paper, because a lot of times when you're writing, you're so focused on how do I make the perfect sentence, how do I make it coherent, But then you get lost in that, and then you kind of almost lose track of the actual creative thought and the actual just let it loose, because it's almost like we restrict our head, we kind of like funnel it. So when I write, I just try to I kind of don't even know where I'm going with the story. Like I have like plots in the story, like here's where the middle is, here's where it's going to go at the end, but I don't have the fillers. I don't have how we get there. And I don't know it.
Yeah. What is it? I do. I do some stuff like that. I usually have where I want to be at the end, and then it's just figuring out as they go along.
How's it get there? Yeah, there's different methods. Everybody has a different way of doing it, but for me, it's a lot of it is mood and feeling. Like I want to, if I feel something, I hope I can portray it in my words.
I know what I was going to say. The other problem with me for writing is sometimes my head goes too fast for my hand.
I've had that. Like my hands start cramping.
Yeah.
Oh, what I mean is, I'm like 5 sentences ahead in my head, and my hands like I said,
Slow
5
down.
sentences back, and it's like it ends up looking like gibberish. I missed stuff that I meant to put in, grammar or whatever, dialogue. It's like
I don't even look at grammar
I'm
until
gonna
the
tell
end.
you this.
and I look at it after, and I'm
Plan
like,
out a link.
what was I trying to say there?
I'm gonna tell you this: when you plan out a length of a story, be careful when you do that because as you write it out, it's gonna run. It might run away from you.
Yeah. I haven't had that issue yet, but it might happen, and I'm curious if I should embrace it. Just see where the story goes.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to the final cut, like I actually take out a lot of things because I'm like, that probably wasn't important. That's why when I'm writing my story, I'm not too scared where it goes because I know I'm going to revise it. So I kind of let loose. I write a lot of things that could be important, could not be important. I just write.
Oh yeah, same here. It's just making sure I get down everything I'm wanting to write.
Yeah,
Right.
Somewhat properly.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to go through several revisions. I mean, I go through a revision for the initial because I write it on paper. For me, I don't know about other people, but I have to write it on paper first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something about just looking at it, and I don't know, it's something about it.
Your paper, there's just something to it.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Yeah, and then so one of my revisions happens when I'm writing it from my paper onto my computer. And then, revise it several times there, and then it gets filtered down, because first it's like in this raw story form, and then it gets filtered down to like a more comic book form where it says panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Then that's another revision.
J Pot Studio in the chat asks, do you do a lot of world building first?
I don't do a lot of it. It'll kind of the way I world build is through characters. Like it's almost like you're jumping into it and things are kind of understood and you're getting explained by the way the characters are interacting. If that's what you mean by world building, but I don't like. So if you read the first chapter, you'll see that the rules of the world are kind of explained within the first 2 pages. So it's not too far out, but you kind of understand where the story's coming from or what the rules of that world are.
Yeah.
Well, let us know whether that answers your question, J-Pot Studios.
Yeah.
And if not, maybe clarify where you want him to or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have focused more on the writing with you. Well, this is a learning process. Learning every week more stuff.
Me too.
I've been doing these things for a while, but
what's funny for me is that I've been writing for a long time, but not comic books. I was writing contracts.
Yeah. Cool. Here's what one of the more famous things to do in this whole community, and you may or may not have heard EVS say about it if you've listened to him. The 1-minute elevator pitch for the elemental balance.
Oh, what is up my 1 minute?
Can you do the 1-minute elevator pitch for the?
I don't know if it's 1 minute, but I mean I have my. I guess elevator pitch, but
the 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. I know.
You pique somebody's interest.
Yeah, Well, I kind of written it on my IndieGOGO as one of the top ones, but basically, the Elemental Balance is a story about four strangers from around the world who gain the powers of the elements after dying by that element, and they're not like your typical superhero story where they're trying to save the world, but yet they're just trying to find meaning and purpose behind why they gain their powers, and in the process. They find out that they're actually being hunted by an unknown threat. That's
Ooh, that is good. That is good.
Good.
So that's kind of the elevator pitch.
That is a good elevator pitch. I'm not sure whether it lasted a minute, but
Yeah, I don't know if I did it.
but it's definitely. I think it would grab somebody.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's kind of a struggle with coming up with these elevator pitches because there's so many things in the story that you want to say but you can't, just because you want your audience to discover that for themselves.
Yeah. It's figuring out how to make your story interesting, to talk about it for a minute without giving too much away. But giving just enough away that they want to
read more.
And coming in as a beginning writer, I was a bit selfish, or not selfish, but I didn't want to give any information. I was like, oh no, they need to find out everything. And I was like, I have nothing. I have no elevator pitch because I didn't want to give away anything. I didn't want to give away that they die from their element, and I didn't want to give away this character who's following them and who's this threat. And I didn't want to give away. I was like, yeah, I got to give something, You
got to give some, but you don't want to give away too much.
Right.
It's learning that balance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when I watch like trailers or movies these days, what really irritates me is that they give the entire story in the trailer. And then when you go watch the movie, it's just, you already know what all yeah, exactly. You know what all the main scenes are.
Yeah, all the great scenes are in the trailer.
Right, exactly.
Oh, we got a few more people in the chat. I guess you answered J-Pot's Studios question since he has yet to reply.
Okay.
But anybody else? We are talking with Zain from Zain Comics about his IndieGOGO comic book, The Elemental Balance. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. And also the links to his Twitter and his IndieGOGO are in the description. So feel free to ask anything as we talk, and I will somehow interrupt us and ask questions of him for you.
By the way, are these links somewhere available to them to be able to click easily to go on?
Pardon?
Are the IndieGOGO links available on? I don't know how it works.
Well, in my description in the chat, where people are watching on YouTube, there's a description of what this thing is supposed to be all about.
Oh, okay.
And the links, they should be able to just click on them, and it'll take them right to your IndieGOGO.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
Or if they click on your Twitter one, it'll take them right to your Twitter page, and they can click follow.
Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Hey, Eliza Cat, Crazy Cat, how are you tonight? If you just came in, talking with Zain from Zain Comics. He has a comic on IndieGOGO that he's crowdfunding called The Elemental Balance. Actually, it's 3 comics that he has there. And you can get all 3 comics in digital format for the low price of $15. That's over 60 pages worth of comics. Or you can get them in print for $25 plus shipping. Again, good price. For over 60 pages. Yes, I guess if you were to go buy it in the store, it might be a little bit less, but these are crowdfunding, so they're always a little bit more.
Yeah, because these are not available in the store right now.
And that's another reason you want, for the physical copies, that you want signature on them, because then they feel they're worth that extra couple bucks more.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's a fair point.
And so if you have any questions for Zain, he'd be more than willing, I believe, to answer them if you can.
while the questions are kind of coming up, maybe I can talk a little bit about some of the things that I was inspired by and like some of the concepts. So if a question comes, just feel free to interrupt me.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my research, something that I found very interesting is, you know, we talk about these ancient elements, right? The rock, earth, fire, water, and wind. And what's really interesting about this is that, okay, those were ancient concepts, but they were said by different communities and different cultures around the globe, but unanimously with slight differences. You know, the Greeks had it, and the Chinese had it, and the Indian cultures had it. So all these cultures had a similar concept to these four elements. But, you know, we know now that, you know, we have a periodic table of 118 elements, you know, so we know that these are obsolete. But what's interesting, though, about these, you know, is that don't they kind of sound very similar to the four states of matter? Because if you think about it, you know, earth kind of sounds like solid, water sounds like liquid, wind sounds like gas, and plasma sounds like fire. You know, so there's some kind of similarities to it. So this was a big inspiration of like, what were the old concepts? You know, maybe that's what they were talking about. They were talking about the four states of matter, but they translated in that way. And over time, those things became obsolete, and we ignored them and rejected them. And we kind of came up with our own concepts, you know? But
yeah,
maybe there's a lot to learn from our history, you know?
sure.
So anyway,
Yes.
and these were kind of things that kind of like inspired me to be like, you know, the information that we know, how relevant is it? You know, do we lose information? You know, the core concept of the elemental balance is that the elements are actually just an excuse. They represent matter, right? So the story in the surface is basically about there's certain things, for example, that we understand that we can see, right? Like, for example, like my body, like I understand my body, but do we understand what is decision making? Do we understand what emotions are? Do we understand choice? Like, because if me and you are made of the same ingredients, what differentiates us in the way we have morality and the way we think and the way we make decisions, you know? So it's a very philosophical, concept, so, but these are things that inspire me when I write these stories.
Cool. I guess some of that will be seen in the comics themselves too.
You'll see a reflection of that. You won't see that exact.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's not the exact terminology in there, but it's it's obviously made into a form of a story. And that's I love philosophy. I love reading about philosophy. I love science. I love history, and that you see a lot of traces of that in my stories.
Cool. Well, I've got a small little question. Who are the two action figures next behind you there?
Oh, I have a full set of action figures.
I just saw them, and I've been wondering it for a while.
Yes, yeah. I got
Here,
got Green Arrow, Cyborg. I mean, yeah, you kind of caught me. I'm a DC guy.
I thought the one might have been Green Arrow.
Yeah.
It looked like you got a Hawkman there, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and Aquaman.
Yeah,
the Justice League. Oh, Wonder Woman's there too.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's there.
You were standing in front of her.
Yep.
Was that the Flash laying down there?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep these guys standing up. Yeah. It's from the New 52.
Ah, cool.
You know, it was funny because I actually had these characters in my office when I worked in the energy industry, and those guys are not comic book guys. So, icebreaker.
Cool. I just figured I'd ask. Everybody asks about the background sooner or later.
Yeah.
I have okay. So you know how artists do mock-up. They do practice sketches like in the morning or something.
Yeah.
So I do something like I do like a writer practice, and so I have these little small Mighty Mini DC characters, and you can find them on my Instagram. But I make like little mini stories out of it, and it's Batman versus Superman, and so it's like these little fun situations that that's me practicing my writing.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh,
And-
I should get your Instagram. Maybe put that in for people.
And I also draw. I don't consider myself the best at drawing, but I'll practice like sketching. This is one of my sketches.
Oh, that's pretty good, actually.
Pretty good.
Thank you. I mean, this is the inking. Like I've inked over my drawings. So I do a few drawings. Let me see if I have some over here. This is Superman. It's not that great. I don't know if you can see it, but
A little bit, but yeah, it looks pretty good to me.
It's pretty good.
they're not fully inked. The ones that are not inked, like I trace them in blue just so I can ink them. But yeah, I've dabbed with different types of art. I've made 3D sculpture. I've done Photoshopped. I've done Final Cut Pro. I've kind of dabbed in everything that's really art. I used to kind of rap. I'm not saying I was good at it, but I did. And
Yeah.
I was into music, making music. I did a lot of those kind of things.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So it's so weird for me for people to think that when I was in the energy industry, they always wondered why I didn't do anything else more, artsy.
Well, it looks like we don't got anything going on in the chat, and this has been. I think this has been good. We've been going at it about an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I usually go somewhere between an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on what's going on in the chat.
Yeah.
As long as I can build it that long, have a good fairly good conversation going. We didn't have as good of a chat as we normally do. I'm not sure why. What's going on tonight?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
I know Ethan's on, so that's probably taking up
Yeah, that's true.
a whole lot of our viewers.
Yeah.
But
I like to go. I like to go on no matter what.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate you guys doing this and just representing.
My pleasure.
I'm kind of new in the community, and so
Yeah.
it's nice to get to know you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And this is for book 4, as you said. If I'm not sure whether you subbed to me yet, but if you're ever in the chat and you want to come on, talk, whatever, just let me know and I'll send you a link.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Yeah.
I like I said, I do a live stream Monday through Friday at noon. So, and then Saturdays I'm doing this at 10 o'clock.
Awesome. That's so cool. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mindy, you want to show for yourself there before we take off?
You can always find me here hanging out with Rick or at Mighty Geek Studios on YouTube. I'm at Mighty Geek 21 on Twitter.
Okay.
Okay. And Zain, you want to tell people where they can find you? Maybe stuff that's not in the description as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty much I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. And then Twitter and everything. You can find me under Inzane at Inzane Comics. Pretty much all of them are like that. And then also have a website, www.inzanecomics.com. So you can check me out there, and then or you can reach me on my email, which is inzanecomics@gmail.com. Just as long as you remember Inzane Comics, you'll be able to find me.
Okay. Well, when we're off here, maybe you can send me the links to each of those. That way I can grab them and put them in the chat, and then hopefully either tonight, depending on how soon you do it, or tomorrow. That way they'll be in the description for whoever watches this at a later point.
Okay, sounds good.
And of course, I am Rick Piper of Cross Comics. You can find me here, as I was saying, Monday to Friday at noon daily, plus all my other stuff that I put up and Saturday nights here. And I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well, under Cross Comics as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we talked with Zain from Inzane Comics about his book on IndieGOGO, That Elemental Balance, which you can find a link to in the description, as well as his Twitter and the other ones, hopefully very shortly. So bye for now. God bless. Have a great and wonderful night.